Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols, and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And today we got a couple new releases from Thomas Nelson, and that is the giant print end of verse reference Bibles. There's a lot of really nice advantages to having these end of verse referencing systems, but let's go ahead and take a look at these two Bibles for a minute, and then we'll compare them to their predecessors, and then I'm going to show you a couple more giant print options that Thomas Nelson has. Now these are both 13-point font. As you can see, the covers are virtually identical. So let's go ahead and examine the cover. Holy Bible stamped on the cover. It has a really nice border there, really nice spine work. Love the stamp design there. For an inexpensive Bible with leather soft cover, this is really ornate, well designed. Really like the gilding as well. Only one double-sided satin ribbon. I would prefer two, actually three, but not bad at all. And when we get into the layout, you can see that this is the New King James. And with the New King James, at the end of every verse where there's references, you'll see the references right there at the end of the verse, and you see that lovely 13-point font, just really easy to read. And what I really like about this is they lay it out in a way to where the references don't seem super invasive. In fact, you've almost got to look for them because there's one there, so it doesn't seem to break up that paragraph reading experience too much, because this almost looks like a paragraph layout even though it is a verse by verse layout. So really well done on the layout in the New King James. So really nice 13-point font, 2-column, really has that classic look. When you get into the poetic settings, you see right there it has that center justified layout with the references at the end of the verse, letting you know where this topic is mentioned at another place in the Bible. Really like those poetic settings. Like this really dark, bold, super bold font. It seems that comfort print really shines the larger the font size is. And then when you get to the New Testament, one thing I really appreciate about these is even though it's a large print, they stop the book on a page and just go ahead and leave the rest of that page blank and then start a new book on a new page. Now on the personal size, we're going to show you a little bit of a difference, and it's something I don't prefer, but I also understand why they do it. Really nice red letter. Once you get past the book of Revelation, you have your maps and you have your NKJV concordance. With the KJV, this looks very similar to the NKJV, and it almost looks like a paragraph format, but you can see it is verse by verse. It does have a bold verse whenever it indicates a new paragraph. So just really sharp layout, and this is going to look virtually identical to the New King James except for in the poetry. I'm not sure exactly why the King James doesn't normally have those poetic settings. I don't know if it's tradition or what lends to that, but as you can see, the poetry looks very similar to the prose in all of this. And of course, when you get the New Testament, the words of Christ are going to be in that red. So now let's real quickly compare it. This is the New King James in the standard text, and this is a personal size. So we have a little bit of a larger Bible. It's about the same thickness, but you're going to get a little bit smaller of a font. So this one has a 10.5-point font, and of course you're going to have that comfort print, and you're going to have the poetic settings. But let's go ahead and compare the two real quick as we show you the font size. So this, as you can see, is significantly larger. Look at that. This is 10.5, this is 13. You can see those 2.5 points make a large difference when it comes to the font size. Now let's go ahead and move to the KJV end of verse reference. This one is interesting because this is single column. So before the end of verse reference was single column, but now they have it in double column. And I really like this a lot better. I like the layout better. I think it reads a little smoother. I also think it looks a little less clunky because you got these big long verses all the way across the page, and then you have your reference, and it just seems a little more disruptive to me. This has a really nice set of textual footnotes. And then when you get to the red letters in the New Testament, you can see that's a dark red. Now, of course, this is going to be the 36 GSM paper because this is from the Premier Collection. This is more like a 33-ish GSM paper, if memory serves me correctly. But you can see that the red letter in both editions is very nice. And of course, when you get to the end of this, it's going to have your King James concordance and, of course, your Thomas Nelson maps. There are a couple other options if you want a New King James giant print Bible. One of them is this personal size. Now, I'm not particularly crazy about this cover. This feels like a little lower end of their leather soft. Leather soft actually comes in tiers, but when you look inside you have that really nice personal size 2-column. Now this one is a 12-point font, so it's going to be a little bit smaller, but if I'm being honest, I can't tell. This looks about as large as the 13-point font. Going to have a little bit less of the textual footnotes on the bottom, so it's not going to be as robust as your end of verse, but you do get a really nice large print in a smaller footprint, more of that personal size Bible. And then when you get into the New Testament, the words of Christ, of course, with Thomas Nelson are going to be red, and that's a very, very nice red. So not bad at all. When you get to the end, you're going to have your maps, but you're not going to have any concordance. That's a sacrifice to get this big font. Another thing that's a sacrifice, and I don't like this, like when you get to the end of the letter of the Romans, you can see that Corinthians starts in the middle of the page. I wish they would have went ahead and started on the next page, but here's the thing. You've got a personal size Bible, you've got a giant print, a big 12-point font, and you have the advantages of this handy size and a big font, so there are going to be sacrifices made. Now another addition that they have is the NKJV giant print Thinline. That one is also a 12-point font. It's going to be a little bit of a larger footprint. It's going to have some textual footnotes on the bottom. It is that 2-column layout. Here's some pictures of it on the screen just so you can kind of check it out. I actually don't own a copy of this one, but I thought maybe it would be a good one to point out. So if you're a person that needs a larger print and you like the New King James Version of the Bible, there are definitely some options out there for you. And they're actually becoming a little bit more and more prominent. But you have a thin line, you have a personal size double column, and you have a double column end of verse reference. So let me know what you think about font sizes. Do you need a giant print? Are you okay with a large print? Or are you fine with a smaller print Bible? Giant print is generally 12 to 14, 15-point font. Then you got super giant print, which is considered like 14 and above. And then you have like a large print, which is somewhere in the 9 to 11-ish range. And then anything below that is just going to be considered a regular print or a small print. So let me know what you need in the comments. God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.